Welcome back, agents. Secret Agent Stash here. I'm at GIA headquarters, and we are here because we have apprehended the notorious. This guy, has been hard to nail down, but we got him today. Michael Wagner. He's the CEO of Star Atlas, and we're gonna toss him inside the box and ask him a couple of questions here we want answered here today. Michael, welcome to the box.
Stash, good to be on, man. Always good to see you. Always good to chat with you. I think we have a ton to talk about today. So excited for the conversation.
So much to talk about. Let's just get going. All right. Let's just start off and address this letter and the big. Can we call it the big giant spaceship in the room? The mothership in the room? We're going to call it the mothership in the room. Okay, so let's go with that. This was, in my, to just give you, in my opinion, was the best worded letter to the community that I've ever seen from anybody in any startup even out in crypto or outside of crypto that I've ever seen. Like, you did an amazing job, I will say, just off the bat, of you being very clear and concise of exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, and tagging along information along the way. I think that in general, the Star Atlas community should be at least applauding for that, and I applaud you for that too, because it's not an easy thing to be in this position. I know that there are always going to be people who poke fun or make fun of people or want to shit on people when they're down, and that's definitely not the Web3 ethos, in my opinion. So that's why I'm really excited to have you here today and talking with us. But let's just jump right into that. So with this reduction of staff, which is a big part of what's going on here with Star Atlas, just kind of tell us real quick in your words, where we're at right now with this release of this letter, and just kind of paraphrase it for us.
For sure. Appreciate the kind words. It is something we put a lot of thought into writing. We've always been extremely transparent with our community. I know you guys recently had a call or a show about this earlier this week. When you talked about FTX, the FTX event that happened in November, the exposure that we had there, we were very quick to market with explaining our situation then and what our plan for the path forward was back then. We're doing the same thing now. What I do think is really important is that we don't overemphasize the significance of the event, which is just to summarize quickly. We did reduce our staff. We eliminated 122 positions across our company, and that was out of 165 or so positions. So quite a substantial
large reduction. Yeah.
That's right. Now the 45 that we highlighted in the letter, that is our internal team, by the way. And I think the community at large knows, we do work with a number of different co-creation studios, at 1.7 or 8 different co-creation studios, teams like Spirasoft and VertPaint. These are teams that we outsource art direction specifically to in various development capacities. So whether they're working on characters or environment or game design or UI, there are elements that our team provides the direction, and we leverage these external teams to actually create on our behalf.
It's a must.
Right?
Yeah, you have to do that these days in game development, for sure. Part of everything.
So that allows us to scale up very quickly. It also allows us to scale down very quickly. Now, the 45 that we highlighted are still team members that are directly at Automata. That excludes the external co-creation studios that we still have engagements with. So I think it's important to note that. I also want to comment that this was, in fact, an incredibly challenging decision for us to make. No CEO, no founder, no business owner wants to eliminate positions and put people out, especially given the caliber of the talent that we had across Star Atlas. We put immense resources into recruiting only the best and brightest and most talented people into Automata to help build Star Atlas. So by no means did I want to lose those people. It was an incredibly challenging decision for us to make. However, it's also fairly standard course of business to adjust based on the external market environment. It is not uncommon for technology companies to reduce headcount when market conditions do not support a heavier run rate or expense rate across the company. We're seeing Google, you see Meta, they've eliminated tens of thousands of positions across those companies. And by no means would you say Google is failing. They're just adjusting based on the market environment.
Google's failing, guys. That's it. Let's go home. It's over. If they can't make it, no one can.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's again, I don't want to downplay the people that were impacted by this. I feel
Hmm.
really bad about that. But what I feel really good about is the position that this places us in for future growth, and sustainability as a company. We're going to be around. What I noted in that letter was that, yes, we eliminated positions, but this extends our runway out a year plus, right? So it buys us time to continue product development, bring things to market, wait and hope for, in some capacity, improvement in the Web3 space, in crypto demand overall, but it also allows us to develop that product that we know mainstream wants. And I think this is why Web3 gaming is the catalyst for the next cycle in crypto, is because there is a tangible product based on entertainment that provides utility that isn't based on, is this price going up or down? It's based on, hey, I want to get in and play this game, and I will get myself embedded into crypto because it's a product that I want to engage with, not just because, financial speculation. So I
Hmm.
think that's a very powerful thing, and all this does is gives us time to bring those things to market. And I do hope we have a few moments to talk about everything that we have up and coming, because we have stuff that will
Yeah.
be releasing in the next couple of weeks.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. So in your opinion here, it is the direction that you have to go, that you're kind of, put in a position to have to go. Is it the direction you think that the majority of Star Atlas supporters want the project to go? Because in my opinion, I would say that in priority of what I want developed, I would say the UE5 game obviously is at the top, and like a mobile or browser based, on chain game like that's probably least on my list. So how do you feel that is within the community? Do you feel like that is the case? Because I know a lot of people are still incredibly bullish when it comes to the community, but I guess I have mixed feelings on where that would be, like where that kind of lies within the greater Star Atlas, kind of community, not just like the core members, right?
For sure. The Just to give you a precise example of how enthusiastic our community is, we just hosted an AMA right before this call, actually, right before this interview. We had over 400 people from our community attend that. This was in Discord, similar to our town hall format, and we talked through the approach. And I do want to be very clear: our vision is not changing whatsoever. We're not saying we're not building the Unreal Engine game. We're not building our AAA
Right.
flagship product. We're saying we are continuing to build that. We've just scaled down the resources that are working across all
Right.
verticals within the
Deprioritized.
business. It's not, and I wouldn't even say it's fair to say it's deprioritized. We still have a division of people in our team. In fact, 19 internally out of the 45 that are still working on the Unreal product. And in
Hmm.
addition to that, the co-creation studios. It's still very much in our roadmap, and we're still targeting an update with the Metagravity expansive multiplayer mode. We just showcased this at PlayGG. We're talking 30,000 people in a single instance, no spatial partitioning, no sharding of the server, no separate servers. It's all single instance, 30,000 players in one environment, which has never been done before.
That's big, yeah.
It's huge. It's huge. So we're bringing that out with the competitive combat racing, with the play to earn loops, the economics of the game, the ship progression and character progression. So essentially, a complete gameplay loop. Um, that is expected to be delivered before the end of the year. Now, that might shift a little bit, just in fairness and in
Hmm.
transparency. That might get pushed to Q1 because of the new resources, but this is still our goal. And the big dream, the big vision is still to bring that product to market. That's the mass market appeal, not everything else that we're doing. And the fact that we had 400 people in the community, they're enthusiastic, they're excited. People were saying this is the best town hall we've ever hosted, in terms of information that we provided to them. Our community is rock solid right now. They couldn't be more passionate and more excited in
No,
what we're
and
building.
and that's something that I will definitely always note is the Star Atlas community has always been great, very very strong and passionate community, and I've definitely been a believer in what you guys are doing there for since the beginning. It's like I said, the wording of the letter is definitely to the point where if you're not a core community member or somebody who like is keeping track of the project like all the time, I think it's safe to say that something like this, despite it being a common occurrence amongst projects, startups, and crypto alike, that reduction in staff, it doesn't look good to the greater machine of things, right? So you think of things like, oh, they're reducing staff, they're going to be focusing more on kind of browser and mobile stuff. I mean, just the high level of that, I think, has an impact on the greater community. And I think that does kind of shake the confidence, I would say, not only in Star Atlas, but also in Solana. And that's something that we touched on in Around the Metaverse on Monday, and kind of is my next question here. How do you feel something like this affects Solana as a blockchain? Do you feel like Solana is still, one of the most solid performers out there? Or do you feel like this does have some sort of effect? Because you guys, in my opinion, are the most prominent game and that is on Solana, and one of the biggest and well-known projects. I think when a lot of people think Solana, they think Star Atlas, and that has kind of has kind of become synonymous, which is a good thing, obviously, but also can also be a bad thing in some sort of way, right? So what do you think about that in general?
Yeah. I try to take a humble approach to life, but I think we're the biggest game in Web3, period, just full stop, not just on Solana. I do want to get back to that question about the impact to Solana, but I also want to make sure I set the appropriate context, which is all of the smaller products that are in our pipeline now. So things like the browser-based game Sage, and things like the mobile application,
Yeah.
our marketplace functionality, our Govern app, all of the other innovations that we've brought to market, those were always in our roadmap too.
Yeah.
We're
Oh,
talking
yeah, yeah,
about
yeah.
developing a game that has a production cost of $400 million plus, most likely. I don't want to say those are conservative estimates. We think between 275 to $400 million essentially gets us to the open world MMO space exploration game that everybody wants from
Mhm.
Unreal Engine. But when we launched in January of 2021 with a white paper and a dream, we didn't have any of that money, right? We went to market, and we started selling NFTs in April, and it was through that process that we funded development. And the fact that we had an incredibly successful first year, the fact that we've done $200 million in revenue through time is probably one of the most historically successful business models ever. I don't know how many companies can say they've made that type of money, especially not in year one. But the goal was always to release product iteratively, release mini game functionality, release alternative entry points, and leverage that to grow and then generate revenue. And of course, we reinvest the revenue into the AAA title that we're producing.
You know what that I mean, and this is I swear this is not a setup, I swear, but you know what that kind of sounds like? It sounds like the Illuvium model. I'm not gonna lie, it almost does. When you think so you think about it, you have the AAA game, which is like their overworld, and then you have like your mobile companion game, and then similar to like a Sage, and then having kind of this trifecta of like your Avatar, right, which is the other mobile focused product that you guys are working on. Not to say it's really their thing, but it just I think that it makes sense when you look at it like that versus this was always our main thing, but here we were already developing these products. They were already part of our roadmap. It's not like we're just kind of came up with this stuff overnight, which I know you guys have been working on this stuff for a long time. It just kind of comes down to what makes the most sense to focus on right now to get the most ROI for what we need to do, which is continue to create this game and do it over a long period of time.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring up Illuvium. The reason why there are similarities is because it was our model that they're trying to replicate. Um, Illuvium is not even in our league. That's my opinion. Their game is not good. Their game concept is not good. Kieran wants to be us so bad that all he can do is throw shade because he's intimidated by how much we've accomplished and how successful we
There's been
have
a lot
been.
of back and forth. I will say
There
that,
has
man. You
been.
guys,
There
I
has
know
been.
it is no small secret. If you guys don't know, I mean, if you guys don't know by now,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, following the debate that we had that Kagi hosted for us
yeah.
last year, uh, Karen comes out with this whole 20-year vision for Illuvium, and there were again a lot of parallels to what I outlined on that debate about how our ambitious vision can actually work. His criticism on that call was that you guys will never be able to do it. It's way too big.
He's
And
like
then he
writing it
released
down. He's like, you guys would never be able to do this. You're like, this is horrible stuff.
Yes, and then what
What
does he
was that
do?
again? Could
He
you
he
repeat that
writes
one
a
more time?
he writes a tweet that is the Star Atlas vision for Illuvium. I think it's embarrassing for him, his approach, the whole interoperable blockchain game concept. That is Star Atlas. That is the metaverse. That is why we build on-chain gaming. And in fact, you can't even call Illuvium a Web3 game. They have brought zero innovation to Web3 development. I don't think they have a single blockchain engineer on their team. They have never deployed a single program on IMX. All they have is NFTs. That you can maybe call that a blockchain game, but that is completely disingenuous in my opinion. They have brought zero innovation to the space.
Okay, well,
We've deployed 15 on-chain programs. Our entire economy is built on-chain, and the product that we're about to roll out is 100% on-chain.
no, and I definitely love the fact that on-chain gaming can work in different capacities, right? Obviously, you're not gonna be able to do a AAA game right now in an on-chain capacity, possibly in the future. But right now, I think we got to keep it to kind of a little bit more of a simple, focused type of game, which makes sense. Now, outside of Illuvium, kind of just refocusing things back here, I think that a lot of people want to understand, like, okay, well, they know this was already a game that was going to take a long time.
That's right.
If you invested or bought a ship and thought, hey, 2 years from now, I'll be able to play this and it'll be great. Like I think most people are reasonable enough to understand that this was always going to take a good amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
But with this type of setback here, how much does this realistically put you back as far as completing a full UE5 metaverse when we can say, hey, yes, I can go fly my ship around. Yes, I can have my guild here. Yes, we're out here mining. Yeah, we're out here doing it does that extend it by a couple of years, or like is it exponential to the amount of slowdown? I'm like, how have you kind of calculated that?
Uh, Happy to answer that question. I also just want to clarify the ability to do Web3 gaming on chain in a AAA capacity exists today. And we built the Foundation SDK, which is that native Solana integration into Unreal Engine. We're the first to build something like that. We built a wallet so you can connect your ledger or connect your wallet directly within the game client itself. All of those same economic mechanics and functionality that will exist in our browser-based game synchronized directly into Unreal
Hmm.
Engine because of how we've built it. So when you
That's pretty
go
cool.
out
Yeah.
and mine from an asteroid, you're executing an on-chain transaction. When you go out and craft an item, that's an on-chain transaction.
Hmm.
We've also built a permission architecture and infrastructure that allows for great protection of user assets while engaging in a gameplay session, which is to say that if you store assets in cold storage, which you should on a ledger or hardware wallet, while you play a game, you can actually transfer those assets into a game session hot wallet that only has a whitelisted withdrawal process back to your main wallet, to your cold
Hmm.
storage. But within the
Can't
game,
go anywhere else. Yeah.
you can auto approve every transaction. So you don't know that you're signing transactions, but you are signing transactions throughout every step of the gameplay experience, but you don't compromise the security of your assets. We've built that. And so you
Yeah, no,
can do these.
no, and that's huge, man. I think that when I say, like, we won't have AAA games that are when I mean every step of the, like, every single movement, everything is an on-chain
For
transaction.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, be able to do cool things like that. I think that makes the most sense. Like you're saying, like crafting makes sense to be an on-chain transaction. Anytime you're acquiring any type of resource, because those are the things you would want to be tracking and managing in an MMO like of this type, right? So it totally
That's
makes
right.
sense. Totally makes sense.
Yep.
Um, so
Well, so you asked how long does this
yeah.
set us back, and I am forever the optimist, but I'm also very confident in what it is that we're building and the traction that we're going to be able to produce in the not too distant future. Like I said, within weeks we have a major product release coming out. Happy to dig into that. The growth potential through both our mobile application and through the browser-based application, as well as referral systems and some other partnerships with Web3 companies, real Web3 companies, game studios that we have lined up right now. But I think the reality is the tides of fortune can turn extremely quickly in this crypto space. So
Yeah.
we have to deal with the unfortunate reality of strong
Hmm.
market correlation presently because we are early stage development. But
Yeah.
there is a point in time where the product speaks for itself, and who cares what's happening if Bitcoin's going up or down, right? It doesn't matter because we've got the entertainment experience. But as we navigate through this, and I still have some optimism for a bull market to come fairly soon. We've got the halving happening in April of next year for Bitcoin. That tends to be a positive catalyst for markets, but we're well positioned to deliver into the next bull market. And it's very reasonable, given our historical success, to assume that a $10 million day, an $80 million month like we've had in the past, that's going to happen again. And so even if this short-term blip kind of slows us down a little bit on the Unreal Engine development, that's okay, because we're going to see success in the future that allows us to rapidly scale like we've done in the past, and build this thing faster than anybody can believe. So I have a ton of confidence in what it means. I think if you look at this over the entire development cycle of our product, it
Hmm.
probably has zero impact at all. If you're looking at it from the short-term perspective of 1 year to 2 years, then yes, maybe there's a feature or a gameplay loop that we don't get included. But this is what we're really competent at. We're actually quite good at deciding exactly what goes into a feature release, so that we can get product shipped. And that, again, that might mean that in a quarter we ship a product. It doesn't have one thing that we would like to have had in it, but it still has everything else. And for us in particular, going into the end of the year, our focus is on this competitive combat, hover racing or ground racing loop.
Hmm.
Mario Kart, pod racing, and team-based mechanics with pit stops in there as well. And so you're able to compete in these race courses, compete in tournaments, activates again the play to earn, the economics through competition. You can level up your ship, you can level up your crew member, you can
Yeah,
customize
that'd be
all of the
big.
components. I mean,
Yeah.
this is fun, man. This is a game in and of itself, right? It's a small game relative to what Star Atlas is, but this is what we want to deliver either Q4 or Q1 next year.
Well, you look at too, like, other really large successful games, including Final Fantasy, that have these really great mini games, like game inside the game, right?
Mhm.
Where people are just like, I love this, I can't stop playing this mini game. I think that kind of building it backwards, where you start with that mini game and then expands beyond that, makes sense. And we've seen that kind of somewhat same style of development with other games. I would argue that Champions Ascension is kind of a similar thing, where they have, like, they start with just a basic, like, 1v1 battle arena, and then but are expanding and trying to make a similar type of metaverse thing. So I think that's something we see, fairly often in that respect. So, looking at it, at that, like, that way, I think it makes a lot of sense to me. It makes a lot of sense to me. But still, once again, on the great, like you said, on the greater scope of the development cycle, it doesn't put that much delay on that larger cycle, right? Is what you're saying here. So hey, in the short term here, it seems like it's a lot, but when you talk about something where, I mean, the way I'm guesstimating it, I was always thinking this was a 6 to 8 year kind of development here. So I mean, does it push that pushes it to for sure 8, maybe 10, even depending on what's going on? I mean, in the scope of things, is that much more? Like, no, not really. But
Mhm.
I think for everyone who is excited about the game, and in particular for people who maybe spent quite a bit of money looking for certain type of gameplay that they may not be able to get, like, with the racing thing, that's great, but are you going to be using a capital size ship to go, like, I don't know if you guys are gonna have a race course for capital size ships, man, but that might be kind of hot. I'm just saying, it's like planets they got to go around. I don't, but I think things like that do make people a little bit disappointed, and take the wind out of some people's sails in a lot of ways too, right? Because that's what they were looking forward to.
Well, I think there's three key features that people want. Racing, it was more of a one. We think it's a fun gameplay loop, but more importantly, we needed to create all of the underlying framework for things like ship movement. So the
Yeah,
ship physics, we needed combat mechanics, and
way to
you
test all
start.
of those things.
Yeah, you take all of
Yeah,
these things that we need to build for the full game anyway, and we turned it into a gameplay loop, right? But so I think racing is fun, but that was more of a benefit of us doing this foundational work. PvP. So you want big space battles? Well, we have a partnership with Metagravity, bringing 30,000 users and ships into a single instance. Well, now you can have an epic PvP space battle in a space arena, and you can use every ship of every class in those competitions.
Hmm.
That's another thing that's on our roadmap. Um, and I think first person shooter, I mean, we're not really going first person. We're probably third person, at least in the near term, but adding that FPS style mechanic to even the showroom, capture the flag or King of the Hill, these gameplay modes that people love. Well, we can do that, and we can add the benefit of, well, if you capture the flag, then you can hop in your ship and go complete this next section. It becomes a race against other players, and a race against like PVE environment or NPCs as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. To be able to get people to engage more with their characters, on a on a not like I'm stuck in a cockpit of a spaceship level. Like you know what I'm saying. I appreciate the like the third person, right? Versus
Mhm.
kind of the first person thing. It's harder to be able to showcase that uniqueness as a character, and I think as an MMO, that's why it works. In my opinion, that's why it's always my favorite because I can see my character, all the things I've customized, and my look and everything. I'm reinforced every time because it's in third person.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, if you customize your character and then in first person view, you never get to see it. Other people get to see your
Yeah,
character. So I,
yeah,
I, I
yeah.
like the third person view as well. I was a big fan of the Division 2, by the way, with the third person looter shooter. A lot of fun there. So maybe similar mechanics like that. We could add the extraction mechanic,
Hmm.
which I personally love, and I know we have some love for that in the community too. Um, if you look at one of the most successful games, which was a mod of all time, it's Counter Strike, right?
Yeah.
CS:GO. How simple is that? You play the same 3 maps usually, but call it 7 maps over and over and over again, and there's no progression. There's no like
There's nothing.
and
It's
then
literally just the same thing over, and people just play like I know. Yeah, I was playing some CS:GO earlier today, to be perfectly honest. So yeah,
I was playing it when it was 1.6 source back in
yeah.
1999 at a LAN party, like, and I still play the game to this day. So my point is that even though we have the vision for this open world MMO, space exploration, data running, bounty hunting, all these different careers that people can pursue, um, we're building complete gameplay loops already. Racing is one of those, right? And that's coming in the very near term. The PvP arenas where you can engage in combat, that's coming too. A first-person mode, an extraction mode. These are things that are in and of themselves complete games. Like any other studio would release that and say, "That's our game. Have fun."
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, how many hours are you going to sink into that? We're
Well,
saying, "Yeah,
that
we're
that
releasing that, but we've got the next thing for you too."
right. I know. Well, that's the problem with it in MMO in general. It's like every game mode rolled into one because you want to be able to have all these extra things because people are essentially living their lives in these things, right? Mass
Right.
multiplayer online game. That's been kind of the the shtick that we've had here is that people spend a significant amount of their time inside of these environments, and so we want to have all these little games and things for them to do. So it's kind of crazy that's what an MMO kind of really does is it takes everything and puts them all together. And I think that's what we're kind of working towards when we talk about the overall what is a metaverse, you
Yes.
know, too.
Yes.
So I think it all speaks to that direction. So it seems like you guys have a lot of stuff that is still in the works that is actually going to be releasing this year. In particular, make us excited about the multiplayer testing. I think that'll be huge with player versus player and those types of things. So before we wrap things up here, is there anything last couple of words you might want to say to the Star Atlas community or those who may be worried about Star Atlas here in the short to midterm?
Well, I really wanted to come on and set the record straight. I don't want speculation. When people don't have sufficient information, then they're left to assume,
Yeah.
what the outcome is going to be. So once again, I feel extremely confident in our future prospects. We're not cutting anything out. The vision is still identical to what it was before, and in fact, the process is exactly the same. This was always about releasing product, using revenue from that product and growth from that product to continue building the next thing, the next enhancement. And we're still doing that. It's identical to day one, right? So nothing's changed there. I feel really good about our prospects with what we have in the pipeline for release this year. I'll
Hmm.
just mention very quickly. Sage is that browser-based game. We have a product that we're expecting to roll out within 3 weeks. It's all of those on-chain mechanics. It's the full activation of the economy. And by the way, a little bit of a shill for a podcast that I've been talking about, Gamecraft, not my podcast, just one I listen to. But it's great. It's an 8-episode series, and it runs through the history of game studio development. But one of the things that I talk about in the first episode is EVE Online. And people would draw some comparisons to from Star Atlas and EVE Online.
Of course.
What they said is EVE Online is 80% economic simulation. Like the people that are playing that game are all about the resource management and the trading, and it doesn't really, it's wrapped in this guise of a space exploration game, but really it's spreadsheets at the base layer of that. And so what we're able to execute with Sage, which is in 3 weeks, is bringing that economic simulation to life, the full peer-to-peer economy. And if you're a Web3 person, let's ignore the mainstream gamer for a moment. If you're a Web3 person, what attracts you to most of these games is, am I able to earn from it? Am I able to produce value from this? Like that's what most of our audience is today. And I think most of the audience for any of these games will be in the immediate future until we get to Star Atlas, V1 open world MMO. I think we'll get some mainstream growth along the way, but realistically, let's deliver the product that our community wants today, and that's the economy within a game. And so that's what we're delivering in 3 weeks. We'd love to have everybody come check it out and play. There's a lot you can do there and a lot of decision trees. We're also introducing this cool raffle system alongside it where you can craft golden tickets for Golden Era. And we're giving away $150,000 worth of loot every week. It'll be $1.5 million in total through the course of this promotion. So it's a ton of value for anybody who comes in and plays now.
Wow.
But to our community, just absolutely love what has been cultivated there. Love the support that we have. These guys are diehard. Through every obstacle we've encountered in the history of this company, we have the FUD fighters in there, the white knights all the time that understand the situation, understand how complex it is what we're building, and continue to support us. I'll make one more comment on Illuvium. Again, not only do I think the product's bad, but their community's dead. If you go into our Discord, our general chat on any given day, we have hundreds of messages per minute, per hour that are going through there. Our team, some of our community guys sit in their Discord. They've had 5 messages in their general chat over 2 hours. Nobody's even talking in Illuvium, nor do they have any users for their products. So if I were to compare the two, there's no comparison for one. And two, we have much better odds of success than they do in the long term, even with an announcement like this. When they try to, stab us in the back or punch us when we're down, I don't care. They're not even a blip on our map. So I feel super good about what we have going on. I feel very confident in Star Atlas. And in spite of all of this, we're just as motivated as ever to bring this to life.
Well, there you go, Agent. Star Atlas for the win. They're going for the jugular, guys, and I wouldn't expect anything less than that from Michael Wagner here. Know that you're a tenacious guy, dude, and that you're not going to give up. So I'm glad to hear it's exactly what I thought it was, and you guys got a lot of things that are in the pipeline. So if you guys were worried about Star Atlas, I think this was a really good, refreshing moment to kind of take a little bit of time to get clarity on the situation. And I appreciate you coming on and letting us hear it directly from you. I mean, having the letter there, being able to read it, which like I said, I thought was really well done, was great. But being able to see you here, talk with you a little bit about this, I think it helps, quell a lot of people's, fear, uncertainty, and doubt and things, for sure. So definitely for me.
Thanks, Stache. I appreciate the platform as always. Good to catch up with you.
No doubt. Thank you so much. All right, agents, that's all we have for today. Till next time, Secret Agent Stache. Over and out.
Secret Agent Stache. Secret Agent Stache.